Hi, it's Stuart from the Courtyard Café. Stepping Stones NI has a dual purpose. It's a training organisation where we provide catering and hospitality training to NVQ students. But we also operate 3 cafes in Lisburn. There are 2 and also the Gate Lodge in Ards. I'm constantly looking at recipes which are suitable for the NVQ trainees and also that will have a use in the kitchen because we do serve customers. Today I'm going to try another new recipe which I think will fit in with the modules that we'll be covering with the trainees in the next 3 or 4 weeks, but also may well have an application and a use in the Courtyard Cafe, because what I'm going to try today is a new bagel recipe. The first thing that I'm going to do is get the yeast mixture together. It takes 7 grams or 1 good teaspoon really in 300 mils of lukewarm water. If you use cold water, the yeast will not activate, so it does need to be just lukewarm. Give that a stir and let it just sit to the side. The flour is strong bread flour, which is what I use for any bread, pizza dough, naan bread, pita bread, anything like that at all. So 500 grams of it. And 2 tablespoons of soft brown sugar. In the mixer I've got a dough hook, which is really essential for making bread if you're using a machine. You can of course do it the hard way. Put the lid down. I'm going to give it just a quick mix through to incorporate the salt, sugar and flour. And what I'll do then, turn the mixer on and slowly add the yeast mix. It always amazes me with the dough hook in a mixer. It looks as though it's never going to work when you start off with flour and water, but it does actually incorporate it all and then begins the kneading process. It saves a lot of time and a great deal of effort as well. At this stage, the flour has all been incorporated and it's become a pretty loose dough. What I'll do at this stage is allow that to knead for a few minutes until it gets a sort of glossy texture to the outside of the dough. At the stage now where the flour has been incorporated, and what that will do is activate the gluten, which is what makes the bread soft and springy. That'll probably take about 5 minutes. Turn the speed up a little bit to really get the dough worked. We're at the stage now where the dough is almost ready. It's been kneading for about 5 minutes. You can see that it more or less tells you when it's ready because it starts to work its way around the dough hook in the mixer. Okay, so we're coming near to the end of the kneading process. It's been running for about 5 minutes. The dough has softened. The dough has taken up a really tight ball shape. It's got quite glossy. Turn the machine off. And you can see now it's a very soft, pliable dough. Take it off the hook. Not wasting anything. So I'll take the bowl off the mixer, and as you can see, the dough is pretty much ready for the next stage, which is proving. To allow the bread to prove, I'm just going to put some cling film over the top of the bowl. It'll probably take about an hour, hour and a half, somewhere warm. I'm going to put that into the hot press. The dough has been proving for probably a bit over an hour because it wasn't terribly warm and it was developing quite slowly. So I put it out actually into the porch in a bit more direct sunlight, and it has now doubled in size or thereabouts. it out onto a floured bench. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on top just to stop it from sticking too much. And what I need to do now is to divide this into 10 portions because the batch will make 10 bagels. I worked out from my bad maths that these should be about 86 grams each. A little bit too much. That's it. I put 5 of these onto each of the baking trays. That's the 10 portions of dough rolled out. I weighed them just to make sure that they're pretty much the same size. What I need to do now is cover these loosely with some cling film, put them back out into the heat to allow them to prove for another 30 minutes or so. Up until this stage, what I've been making is a fairly conventional yeast dough, which any of the trainees in Lisburn will be familiar with. We have made pizza bases, we've made naan bread, and the principle is exactly the same. But this is the stage where things start to get slightly different because these bagels, or I should say these pieces of dough, will become bagels. And what I've got to do first of all is gently, without knocking the air out of it, make the bagel shape with the flour. And first one done, now for the rest. And that is the bagels. Looking somewhat more like bagels now than they did before, and ready for the next, even more unusual stage. And this is where things get a little bit unusual. Using bicarbonate of soda or baking powder is pretty normal. It's actually what makes soda bread. But in this case, what it's actually doing is making the boiling water alkaline, and as a result, it will make the chewy consistency in the dough and in the crust that you associate with bagels now. I'm going to give this a couple of minutes. That's my bagels with the sesame seeds on them. Ready to go into an oven now, which I've preheated to 170 degrees since it's fan, and that should take between 20 and 25 minutes, just until they're a golden brown colour. Well, that's the first ever batch of sesame bagels. I have to say I'm pleased with the way they've come out. They have risen, they have coloured nicely, and lots of sesame seeds. So looking forward to having some of those for lunch sometime soon.